Cape Horn. Iconic. Perilous. Our Volvo ocean race fleet has rounded sailing's most notorious landmark and is heading for the starkly contrasting, bustling beaches of Rio de Janeiro. Arrival in Brazil will mark the end of an extraordinary journey. The fleet left Qingdao in China in mid-February. At 12,500 miles, this is the longest leg in the history of the race. First to Cape Horn, Ericsson 3, skippered by race veteran Magnus Olsson.
I'm very happy and very tired.
They took a massive gamble when heading into the Southern Ocean, opting to go it alone on a northerly route. It's paying off. Young navigator Axel Magdal's risky strategy has propelled them into the lead, and 1,700 miles short of the Copacabana, they're sensing glory. But chasing them hard, just 50 miles behind, are overall race leaders Ericsson 4, driving them on to his home city of Rio, Torben Grail. Rounding Cape Horn in second has pushed them 9 points clear at the top of the leaderboard. Should they hunt down and pass their sister ship on the charge up the coast of South America, they'll move a step closer to securing overall victory. Behind Ericsson 4 at the Horn comes Puma's Il Mostro. Ken Reed remains a major threat to Torben Grail's dominance. Just 80 miles behind the Brazilian, Reed is looking to accelerate past his rival and prevent him from tightening his grip on the race.
Paddy's Day again at Cape Horn. Hey, Paddy's Day!
90 miles behind Puma's Il Mostro, a double celebration. Green Dragon, the Irish-Chinese entry, passing Cape Horn on St. Patrick's Day. Ian Walker and his crew finally pointing their boat north to Rio at the point where the Pacific and Atlantic Oceans meet. Yet to pass Cape Horn, more than 600 miles behind the leaders Ericsson 3, is Bauer Becking and his men on board Telefonica Blue. For them, the journey from Qingdao has been one to forget. This was their opportunity to exert pressure on Ericsson 4 at the top of the leaderboard. The breakages have been costly. What will Cape Horn deliver? So Ericsson 3 and Ericsson 4 are involved in a head-to-head battle for the Leg 5 finish line. Can Magnus Olsson and his daring young navigator hold off the relentless charge from Torben Grail, who is urging his crew on to help him fulfill a lifelong ambition? Ericsson 3 continue their march towards the finish line at Rio. Magnus Olsson's crew surges on in the hope of securing what would be a remarkable leg victory. Olsson and Magdal's decision to steer away from the fleet when heading south from Qingdao was a masterstroke. The champagne is on ice, and it will be theirs if they can hold off the chasing pack. This leg is an epic and is the 5th of 10. Our fleet left Alicante in October and took 3 weeks to get to Cape Town, South Africa, with Ericsson 4 breaking the world monohull record on the way. They regrouped and made Volvo ocean race history by sailing north through the inhospitable Indian Ocean to Cochin. Ericsson 4 extending their lead at the top of the leaderboard. Telefonica Blue secured a pulsating win in Singapore on Leg 3. Leg 4 took the fleet upwind through the South China Sea to Qingdao, where Bauer Becking's men once again claimed a valuable victory. Leg 5, taking in the infamous Southern Ocean and Cape Horn, is proving to be the longest in race history. The fleet has been at sea for over 5 weeks, and the overall distance between Qingdao and Rio is almost 13,000 miles.
After 31 days of sailing, we go around Cape Horn first. Now we're going to fight to the bitter end.
Ericsson 3's passing of Cape Horn is potentially another step towards glory. But having fixed an oil leak in their keel system, Ericsson 4 continue to push them hard along the coast of Argentina. Their pursuit is relentless. Torben Grail's hungry for another leg win and to extend their advantage at the top of the leaderboard even further. But Grail has his work cut out as the leading pair begin their trip north. Cape Horn marked the 10th day the Brazilian has spent trying to reel in the wily Olsen. In third, Ken Reid on Puma's Il Mostro continues his fight to keep up with those ahead of him. Already in Brazil is Delta Lloyd. The Dutch entry retired from leg 4 and will rejoin the race on leg 6. She was a victim of the hostile conditions between Singapore and Qingdao. Taiwan became a temporary refuge as the bow delaminated and cracks appeared in the boat's frame. Shipped to Rio, the race is now on to get Delta Lloyd onto the start line for the import race on April the 4th. Also in Rio, another leg 4 casualty is being prepared to re-enter the fray. Fernando Echevari's Telefonica Black is also the subject of a battle against the clock to be ready for the import race.
We're aiming to be finished before the majority of the boats start rolling in, so we can be out of here and down to our proper base. You can sort of see the crack up there, and it's obviously been enlarged a lot due to the repair, and we'll be over the next week or so splicing in the new section. It's a case of a whole lot of steps that need to be followed in order. You can't rush them, you can't speed it up, it's just a step-by-step process. So you've got to do it right, you've got to do it properly, and you need to have the right people to do it.
Back on the water, Ericsson 3 work hard to maintain their lead, day and night.
This is very exciting. We are in the Atlantic Ocean, more specifically South Atlantic Ocean, outside Buenos Aires, halfway between Cape Horn and Rio de Janeiro in Brazil. We have a very exciting situation going on. Back here, we have the renowned Ericsson 4 and the famous American Puma. They're right back here. They're a bit difficult to see. They are 125 miles away, and the famous American Puma is 250 miles away. That's why they're a bit hard to see. It's an extremely exciting situation, this. We gotta be really careful not to stir them up. We hope to not get a closer look at them in the next couple of days. Thank you.
One for the grandchildren.
At the back of the fleet, over 400 miles behind the nearest boat, Green Dragon, and over 630 miles behind the leader, Telefonica Blue finally commenced their route north to Rio.
Yeah, this is now my 7th time around the Horn, and actually it's the 4th time again with really conditions like light air, no breeze. Just before we had a puff of 32 knots, now we're right now having 7 knots of breeze. It's just a tricky place to sail around, but pretty happy that we are here, and it looks like the next couple of days we're going to get nice breeze again, and and then up to Rio. So, toi.
Very good. A little bit of grapper and it's to go. You can't complain. Nice earring, yeah.
I'm feeling very happy. I've missed my family heaps this trip, but feels a lot better now.
With all 5 boats now having passed the Cape Horn scoring gate, the leaderboard ahead of the leg 5 finish line sees Torben Grail holding a 9.5-point lead over Ken Reid. Bauer Becking is just half a point behind in 3rd, while Magnus Olsen is 4th and Ian Walker 5th. At Telefonica Black, as every hour passes, skipper and shore manager are harbouring concerns.
Relative to our initial schedule, we're behind, but you know, with these things, as you start digging into jobs, you know, little bits come up left, right, and centre. So we had hoped to be on the water this week. I'd say we're about a week behind. There's a couple of thousand hours that go into it, not just in guys here physically working away on it. You know, there's all of the work that's gone in setting it up and planning it and preparing it. So pretty difficult to quantify.
On Ericsson 3, 5 weeks at sea is beginning to take its toll.
Yeah, I think we're all under a lot of stress, and I talk a lot about nothing. Talk about nothing. And that's my way a little bit to handle the situation. Talk, as you understand now, talk. And I think a lot of people get tired of me because talk. You have a nice, black suit on you. I can talk about that one. I can talk about your trouser there. I can talk about, here is a squirrel. I can talk about this squirrel. Why do you have a squirrel on board? And how many squirrels do you think there is in Sweden? And then people can guess it's 100,000 squirrels. There's only 1,000. That's very important. Perhaps it's only 1,000 squirrels in Sweden. I think it's more 100,000. You can talk about animals. If you start with an animal on A and B and C and D, or capitals or countries or things like insects. Nasty people, name of nasty people. They handle it in a different way, everybody. It's interesting to study how people, we have one on board, no names, that eats all the time, small things, eats. One guy, he cannot but trim the sails, even if he doesn't do anything, he can ease 1 millimeter and take up again 1.5. And we have one guy that is doing the boat very nice inside, picking up small things, cleaning inside, cleaning corners, cleaning everywhere, really. And when he's done, he starts from the beginning again. So there is a lot of different people. It's interesting to see, and I talk.
Any hopes Ericsson 4 have of catching the leaders Ericsson 3 are beginning to fade. Just 60 miles behind, their pursuit is becoming a crawl as the fleet enters an area of high pressure off the South American coast.
Yeah, just a little reminder that the boom, why the boom's called the boom, I guess. Well, it wasn't anywhere near as hard as what Anders got whacked, so just grateful for that.
For skipper Torben Grail, the slow progress brings added frustration. A triumphant homecoming for a true Brazilian sporting great is looking increasingly unlikely.
I think it's important. So far we have done good points on this leg, on both scoring gates. And that we keep fighting to get a good result into Rio, especially if you can keep in front of our main opposition there. Rio is a wonderful place for sailing, has a wonderful bay and very pleasant conditions for sailing, and they can do it all year round, and people that sail over there has a very nice time, so it's a great place to sail.
Eagerly awaiting Torben's arrival at his yacht club is an old friend, Marcelo Ferreira, a colleague on Brazil 1 in the last race. He knows the Olympian better than most.
Yeah, we start sailing in 1985 in a small boat, a 23-foot boat in Ilhabela. Since that, we keep sailing. In 1988, after the Olympics in Seoul, I started to sail with Torben in Stars. And now it's almost 20 years we sail in Star together. We did 4 Olympic Games together. We got 2 golds and 1 silver medal. So I think we are a nice team and good friends. We have a lot of fun together on sailing and outside of sailing also. We play tennis, we drink good wines also. That's important to not just be in the water and sailing. It's good to have a relaxed time together and fun. Yeah, Torben is the biggest Olympic champion in Brazil. He has 5 medals, the biggest, nothing to say on everything. Torben is very quiet, very shy, and everybody knows him, but he don't like to be a popular guy and very famous. He's just easygoing, living his life like he is, and that's all.
Marcelo won't be alone on the dockside.
The sailing club we consider almost our home yard because we live close by the club, and our kids have been growing up here in this club, and they started sailing here, and so it's a very big part of our lives is in this club here.
I think it's going to be fun. If I know my friends, we're going to be straight in the barbecue and then have a few ones and then relax with friends and family.
For the shore crew of Delta Lloyd, the struggle with Brazilian logistics continues.
Customs immigration's a headache, trying to just have stuff on temporary import. That's the way it goes. We all knew about it, but it's always a hassle. We've got a tent and we have air conditioners, so work at night. And it's horror shows. Hopefully back in the water, 25, 26, somewhere around there. Sail 27, somewhere around there. So we have a plan in place. New rig, new sails, new boat, new team. So we'll be good to go.
Magnus Olsen on Ericsson 3 is now just 600 miles short of the Rio finish line, with Torben Grail on Ericsson 4 80 miles behind him. Ken Reid on Puma's Il Mostro is finding it impossible to make ground on the leading pair as the fleet is slowed by the high pressure. After 37 days at sea, the lack of wind is causing anxiety. On Green Dragon, toiling on the coast of South America is going to create a significant problem.
We've got 4 days of food and possibly 7 days of sailing.
About 7 days.
Easy. We're in good shape. But to save all arguments, we're going to split the food into watches.
And we're going to break up toilet paper to put into the meal to thicken it up. So you break it up into lots of little bits like this.
Yeah, what do you mean?
Or you put this you break this up like that.
Yeah.
And you put it into the food, and it thickens it up. And you eat it.
You can eat it?
Try it.
Taste the what?
No, it's good. Tastes like It's quite salty actually.
A bit salty.
One meal today, get the whole chicken one, and then put a whole potato mash in it, and thicken it up.
Shed loads of porridge and stuff. Right, so we have one hot meal and then each team can have a bowl of their porridge.
Yep.
For the other meal. And we'll at least work one decent meal a day for the rest.
Although he may be hungry, Green Dragon's skipper can take solace in the fact he's enjoying more luck in these waters than another member of his family.
I think it was my mother's grandfather, so my great-grandfather, and he left home as a 16-year-old boy and got on a ship as a ship's boy, and ended up getting shipwrecked off the Falklands. And he wrote some lovely letters when he was shipwrecked, waiting to be collected from the Falklands and taken back to London. I think they actually swam ashore to the Falklands. There's a couple of things I remember. One was the beautiful handwriting. 2 was the very good English for somebody so young. And 3 was the fact that they had to swim ashore from the boat.
As Walker reflects on the past, behind him, Bauer Becking and his crew on Telefonica Blue continue their progress.
Yeah, it's quite an interesting situation we've got right here. We are very far in the east. Basically, Rio is right north of us, and the Green Dragons are about 300, 400 miles west of us. And it looks like they packed it up quite dramatically, and in the last 2 days we made huge gains, and in the last report we were only 60 miles behind them, so maybe all of a sudden a big surprise, a big bonus coming up over here, and that we're actually going to pass about. Maybe a bit unlucky for them, but that's just how yard racing goes. For the rest, everything is good over here. We still have plenty of food, which is a nice thing, and there's plenty of diesel. So even when it's going to take another 5 or 6 days, we will be happy chappies when we arrive in Rio.
954. Just got the 19Z sked in. We've got Dragon back to 50 miles on distance to the finish. A couple of days ago, they were close to 500, so we've been chipping away nicely. It's a bit of a slow speed overtake, but hopefully we can make it stick.
In third, 90 miles behind Ericsson 4, the beleaguered crew of Puma's Il Mostro know that time is running out if they're to catch those ahead.
So the biggest problem that we have right now is not actually food, it's gas. This is our gas canister down here under the kettle. We have one left, and that's it, and we're already about a quarter of the way into it. So right now it's looking like it's got to last us for, I'm going to say 4 days. We've got the insulated kettle, and I know exactly how many pumps for every single meal we do on this boat, so that there's zero wastage. Every bit of water that goes into this kettle goes straight into the pot, no waste, no coffees. In fact, we haven't had a cup of coffee since probably halfway across the Southern Ocean. I know a couple of people have sneaked them, but I can't police that. Even if we have food, we have no way to cook it. What we've been doing is gradually pushing the mashed potatoes to the back, because the mash is the only thing we've found that can hydrate itself cold.
A podium finish will bring champagne, points and sustenance.
Granola and yogurt will be fine with me.
Really?
Coffee.
Bacon, spinach, cheese in the omelette with mushrooms.
Probably a mussel starter, fruit salad, and then a steak main course, some sort of chocolate mousse dessert. Pain au chocolat.
I would do sausage, egg, beans, chips, fried bread, cup of tea, newspaper. And he would do all of that in German.
At Delta Lloyd, the damage from leg 4 is extensive. The repairs must be done quickly and precisely.
We've found some large dented area and the core had all been crushed inside, which is a definite sign of an impact.
You would have thought it just sprung out immediately. It would have broken and just sprung back out. It stayed there.
We kept cutting it back until we found the end of the problem. Then we started cleaning up the edges, straightening up the hole, ready to receive this new panel. I hadn't seen that kind of damage before. It looks like a large impact with the softest object. The only explanation we can have is a whale or something like that. The boat has slammed down on top of it. It's pushed in the Nomex core by about 25%, and it's all against the inside skin.
Moment of truth. It either does, or it doesn't. And if it doesn't, it'll fit.
We're just really going to put it where it settles is where it goes. So just shuffle it around to the nearest 5 of where it is.
She's a beauty. Take her up. Yeah. I don't mind, needs to go. Can you lock it off there, Killian? Can you lock it off there with some posts?
Everything all right?
Well, it's pretty good for a first time look. Quite happy with that. It's a relief to see that.
So what we got to do now? Stick the bolts through it.
Yeah. Screw it together.
Stick the bolts through it.
Ericsson 3 is within 200 miles of the finish line and an extraordinary victory. Their eyes are firmly on the prize. And in an attempt to shake a desperate Torben Grail off their tail once and for all, they enter stealth mode. On the run into Rio, their location will remain a secret for 24 hours. Can Magnus Olsen's crew hold on and win leg 5? Or will Grail, sailing on his home waters, snatch an unlikely triumph for Ericsson 4 in front of his family and friends as the Copacabana beckons?